The morning sunlight poured into the modest Atlanta home, casting golden lines across the hardwood floor and creeping up the kitchen cabinets. Thomas Miller stood in the kitchen in his wrinkled shirt, his brow furrowed, scanning the open drawer. In front of him, it was supposed to be there, a crisp $100 bill he had tucked under a stack of coupons just 2 nights ago. He had been saving it for a last-minute hospital bag purchase, maybe a celebratory dinner when the baby arrived. But now it was gone. He dug deeper, lifting old receipts, expired grocery store flyers, a roll of tape, nothing. The drawer was empty except for dust and a lonely paper clip. He turned slowly, staring at the dining table, then the counter, then toward the stairs. Rachel was upstairs in their bedroom, probably folding the baby clothes again. She'd been nesting all week, rearranging the nursery drawers, refolding blankets 3 times just to make sure it all felt right, his mind raced. Could she have used it? No, Rachel wasn't careless. Not about money? But lately things had felt off. The stress of the pregnancy, the doctor appointments, the bills, they were always on edge. Their conversations had been shorter, her eyes more distant. Maybe she thought he wouldn't notice. He walked upstairs, each step sounding heavier than usual. In the bedroom, Rachel sat on the edge of the bed, holding a pair of tiny socks in one hand, her other hand supporting her swollen belly. She looked up and smiled weakly when she saw him. "Hey, babe, can you hand me the where's the 100 I left in the kitchen drawer?" he asked flatly. Her smile faltered. "What 100? His arms crossed. "The one I told you. I was saving for this week. I left it under the coupons. Now it's gone." Rachel's brows knit in confusion. "I haven't seen any $100. Are you sure you didn't move it? "I'm not crazy, Rachel. I know where I left it." His voice sharpened, the accusation leaking through like venom. She blinked at him, stunned. "Are you accusing me of taking it?" "I'm just saying you're the only other person here, and it didn't vanish into thin air." Rachel pushed herself up slowly, one hand on the bedpost. "Thomas, I would never steal from you. I'm your wife. I'm carrying your child." "And I'm your husband, not an idiot," he snapped, his chest rising with each breath. For a moment, silence stretched between them like a knife. Rachel's eyes welled up, but she didn't let the tears fall. "You really believe I would do something like that?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas didn't answer. He turned, walked back down the stairs, picked up his phone and dialed. His hands trembled slightly, not out of fear, but something colder, something righteous. When the dispatcher asked the nature of his call, he didn't hesitate. "I'd like to report theft. My wife took money from me." Within 15 minutes, the police car pulled up. Rachel stood barefoot on the front porch, her robe clinging to her rounded belly. Confusion and disbelief carved across her face. 2 officers approached, one of them placing a soft hand on her shoulder, the other asking her to come with them for questioning. Thomas stood by the mailbox, watching silently as the neighbors peeked through blinds. Rachel turned to him as they walked her to the car, her voice cracking through the morning air. "You're really doing this?" He didn't respond. As the cruiser pulled away, Rachel looked back through the window, eyes swollen, heart shattered, barefoot on the cold floor of Betrayal. And Thomas stood still, arms crossed, certain he had done the right thing, certain. Until the silence of the house swallowed him whole. The holding cell was small, sterile, and smelled of bleach and something older, something like regret. Rachel sat on the metal bench, her hands resting on her belly, gently stroking it as if to soothe the baby or herself. Her ankles ached. Her lower back throbbed. The cold air inside the precinct bit through her hospital gown and thin robe. She hadn't been given time to change. Her slippers were soaked from the dewy grass where the officers had led her from the front porch to the squad car. She wasn't angry yet. She was still stunned. Her mind kept trying to rewind the morning, play it back, see if she missed something, misheard something, misunderstood what was happening. But it always led back to the same truth. Her husband had called the police on her, 9 months pregnant, in her own home. Over $100 bill. Asterisk. An officer walked by without glancing at her. Another scribbled something on a clipboard before motioning for a nurse. She's pregnant, he muttered. 9 months. Asterisk. Rachel was taken into a side room, not much more comfortable than the cell, where a nurse checked her vitals. The nurse, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, looked at Rachel for a long moment before asking in a low voice, "You okay?" Asterisk. Rachel didn't answer. Asterisk. "You want to call someone?" Asterisk. She nodded. The phone was handed to her. Her hands shook as she dialed her sister Denise's number. It rang twice before a groggy voice answered. Asterisk. "Rachel?" Denise said, "You okay? What time is it?" Asterisk. Rachel tried to hold back the quiver in her throat. "Can you come to the station?" I'm at the 6th precinct. Asterisk. "What? What happened?" Asterisk. "Thomas called the police on me," Rachel said, her voice cracking. "He said I stole money." Asterisk. There was a pause on the other end. Then Denise snapped to life. "Don't say another word. I'll be there in 10. Asterisk. True to her word, Denise showed up faster than Rachel thought possible. She stormed through the lobby, demanding answers. Within an hour, a lawyer was called. Rachel was interviewed. No proof, no fingerprints, no evidence. Just a husband's word. Asterisk. Back at home, Thomas sat alone on the couch. The house was eerily quiet. He thought maybe he'd feel relief, justice, clarity. Instead, he felt the heaviness of silence pressing into his chest. He replayed their conversation again. The look in her eyes. Her face through the police car window. Asterisk. His phone buzzed with a notification. A friend from church had texted. Asterisk. Greater than I just saw Rachel's name on the community alert page. What's going on? Asterisk. He turned the phone face down. Couldn't respond. Asterisk. The next morning, a knock at the door startled him. He opened it, expecting maybe a neighbor or an officer. But there was no one, just an envelope on the mat. Inside was a brief, cold message typed by an attorney. Asterisk. Greater than Rachel Miller will be staying with family. Please refrain from contacting her. Any further communication should be through legal counsel. Asterisk. The pit in his stomach grew. He sat on the bottom step of the staircase, head in his hands. This was spinning too far. But wasn't he justified? It was about trust. It wasn't like he hit her or cursed at her, but he had done something worse. 2 days passed. Then came the post she hadn't intended for him, but he saw it anyway. Asterisk. A picture. Denise holding a sonogram photo. Caption. Asterisk. Greater than sometimes the strongest women are the quietest fighters. Proud of you, sis. We've got your back. The comments flooded in. Support, prayers, outrage. And for the first time, Thomas realized he wasn't the victim. He was the storm. Asterisk. Rachel didn't go back to the house, not even once. Denise had prepared the guest room for her, redecorated it with soft yellow curtains and a new crib they bought together. Her baby shower gifts had already arrived weeks ago, still boxed, untouched. Rachel unpacked them one by one, not as a celebration, but a quiet act of reclaiming her life. Asterisk. The legal process moved quickly. Her lawyer drafted the paperwork. Separation, custody considerations, and a record of the arrest, though the case had already been dropped for lack of evidence. The emotional damage was enough. Asterisk. Thomas didn't respond to the letters at first. He tried calling, but her number was disconnected. He messaged her on Facebook, on Instagram, even through an old college friend. Nothing, just silence. Asterisk. Then came the biggest gut punch. He learned his son had been born not through a phone call, not through a message, but through a tagged photo. A soft newborn wrapped in a striped hospital blanket, Rachel smiling weakly, tears drying on her cheeks. The caption. Greater than welcome to the world, Eli James Miller, born strong, born loved. Asterisk. But Thomas wasn't in the photo. Not in the room. Not in the moment. Asterisk. The next day, he drove to Denise's apartment. Stood outside like a ghost. She opened the door and didn't even give him a chance to speak. Asterisk. No, she said. You don't get to just show up. Asterisk. I just want to see my son. Asterisk. Denise's glare was like ice. You wanted to teach her a lesson? Well, here's yours. Actions have consequences. You thought calling the police would give you control. Instead, you gave her freedom. The door slammed in his face, and Thomas stood there, in the quiet hallway, hearing the faint cry of a newborn he might never hold. The silence in the house grew heavier with each passing day. Thomas moved through the rooms like a shadow, haunted by the absence of the life he once had. The crib in the nursery stood untouched, the baby clothes still folded neatly, waiting for a child who now slept in a different home. The mobile above the crib didn't spin anymore. The house, once filled with dreams, felt like a museum of mistakes. Neighbors no longer smiled. Whispers followed him at the grocery store. People who once asked about the baby now avoided his gaze. Thomas tried to carry on, convincing himself that things would return to normal, that Rachel just needed space. But space turned into silence. And silence turned into distance he couldn't cross. Then came the photo Rachel holding a newborn, Eli wrapped in a hospital blanket surrounded by love and support. But Thomas wasn't there. He hadn't even been told. The image gutted him. In a panic, he drove to Denise's apartment, only to be met with a closed door and a cold voice. She doesn't want to see you. You made your choice. Weeks later. In family court, Thomas stood with trembling hands as Rachel calmly told the judge, "He didn't hit me, but he hurt me in a way I can't forget." She was granted full custody. Thomas was allowed supervised visits, back home. He cleaned the laundry room and found the missing $100 behind the washer. As he stared at it, shame overwhelmed him. It was never about the money. It was about trust, and he had destroyed it.